Hey guys, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be discussing the much hyped Jaclyn Hill by Morphe palette. I was able to get my hands on this right as it was released. I think they said it sold out in about 45 minutes or so. I was able to wait in line on their website and purchase this, which was really exciting. I've been hearing so much about this palette for months and months and months, it seems like, so I was really excited to be able to get my hands on this. Now it is currently sold out, but they are planning on bringing it back at some point, so I thought I would still hop on YouTube and give my thoughts on the palette if this is something that you missed out on the first time around and are still interested in it for when it comes back, whenever that may be. They have not released a date for when it's going to be back in stock, but hopefully sometime soon, and hopefully this video will be helpful for you in making the decision as to whether or not to purchase it or not. But yeah, this is what the palette looks like. It's just plain white, and I know most Morphe palettes, or I think maybe all of the other Morphe palettes, are always black, so this one is definitely different. And you can see it just says the Jaclyn Hill palette here on the front, and then the brand Morphe at the bottom. And the words Jaclyn Hill and Morphe are foiled. The and palette are just written on there regularly. But that is what the front of the palette looks like. And then just so you know, this is what the back of the palette looks like. It says Morphe by Jaclyn Hill, and it has little JH written all over it. And the palette itself is made of cardboard, and I believe most of the other Morphe palettes are made of plastic. The Kathleen Lights palette, which is actually the only other Morphe palette that I own, which came out sometime last year, that one is also cardboard, but that one was a lot smaller and quite a bit cheaper than this one. I believe the Kathleen Lights palette, which has 15 different colors, was $15. This one, it has 35 different eyeshadows, but it was $38, so quite a bit more expensive, even quite a bit more expensive than the other 35 pan eyeshadow palettes that Morphe has, which, like I said, I don't own any of those, but I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those retail somewhere under $30. I'm not exactly sure, but I believe it's under $30, with which is what those usually go for. So this was significantly more expensive, and there's a whole little bit of controversy over why this was so much more expensive. At first they were saying it was because the formula of all the shadows was different, and then it kind of came out that no, those are the exact same ingredients that are in every single other Morphe palette, but then they said that they were pressed differently, and so where everyone was like, okay, that's kind of cool, a different way of pressing eyeshadow specific to each shade. Apparently that's not really that different in the industry. That's pretty typical from what I've been hearing. Again, this is all just hearsay, what I've heard about this palette. You know, he said, she said kind of thing, maybe a little bit. So why this is so much more expensive if it is the exact same formula and the exact same way of pressing, and I mean the packaging isn't that like luxurious or anything. It's different, but it's not that luxurious. So why this was so much more expensive, I don't know. Of course there are discount codes out there, so you can use those if you are interested in purchasing it. But regardless of all the controversy surrounding the formula and the way that these shadows are pressed, I was still really excited to get my hands on this. So I haven't even shown you what it looks like, but this is what the inside of the palette looks like, and of course I did use this on my eyes today. I think this is a really well thought out palette. The only thing that I think she's missing, and I'm very surprised that this isn't in here, is a matte highlight shade, or kind of like a light skin tone color shade. Usually all palettes have something like that, or most palettes, most very well-rounded palettes I should say, have something like that. And now there are these two shades up here, but both of those are a little bit shimmery. I used this one here, the very first one, in my inner corner and under my brow bone today. So I was just really surprised that she didn't include like a matte highlight kind of shade. I thought that was a little strange, but other than that, I really love the color selection on this palette. I think there's mostly warm shades, which are really pretty, and then there are a couple of cool shades, and then these fun pops of color, which I haven't even tried yet. But before we get too into all the different swatches and stuff, let me go ahead and throw to some footage of how I completed this eye look today. is the completed eye look. I really like how it turned out. I think it's a beautiful look. A little bit different than what I've been seeing here on YouTube. I've seen a lot of people playing with the more colorful shades down here in the corner, and I'm really excited to play with those, but I wanted to do something that I hadn't seen here on YouTube, and I've watched a lot of these videos. So hopefully this is something different, you know, to maybe inspire you when you have this palette, or if you have dupes to these colors. I don't know, I just thought it was a really pretty look. Alright, so now let's talk a little bit more about the palette and what I actually think about it. I think the mattes that I used are absolutely beautiful, and that's kind of what I've been hearing across the board on all the different reviews. They're just very pigmented, and they just kind of swept on my eyes so effortlessly. They blended beautifully, as you saw. I just think my eyeshadow look is really nicely blended today, so I'm really excited going forward to keep playing with the mattes in here. However, I was so excited for this color. And one other thing I meant to say, this really kind of bugged me. She named all of these shades, and I saw in the ones that were sent out for PR before this was even released, some of the reviews that I saw, everybody got a little card that had all the different names on it. That was nowhere to be found in my box. I was thinking maybe they just kind of forgot to put it in my box. There was some kind of error. But no, apparently those little cards were only for PR purposes only, which really sucks. I mean, why take the time to name all 35 eyeshadows? And a lot of the shades had some real significance to Jaclyn. Like, I think one of these shades down here was named for her niece. I think this shade that I really loved was named, I think that one is called Sissy, I would assume for her sister. So I'm just confused as to why people that actually purchase this palette don't get the names. Like, why even bother coming up with names for this palette? I thought that was really strange. It's not like a piece of paper would cost more than 5 cents when you're printing out so many of them. I don't know, I thought that was really strange and kind of a bad move on their part, especially because in Jaclyn's initial video of this palette, she spent so much time talking about the different names. Really strange. Of course, I think as everyone said too, they would have liked to see the names actually printed on the palette. That's so much easier. Everyone prefers when the names of the shadows are just actually printed on here, but I would have rather had that little piece of paper than nothing. I just thought that was really weird. Alright, so anyways, let's go back to talking about the actual eyeshadow. So this shadow here, the second to last one here in the top row, just really caught my eye. That was one of the main reasons why I was interested in this palette. It kind of looks like NARS's Orgasm Blush, but maybe a little bit more foiled even. It's got, it's very pink, like kind of like a corally pink with a very gold twist to it. It's really beautiful. However, it really didn't work on my eyes at all with a brush, and I know she said that you need to either use like a Fix Plus or some kind of setting spray or your finger with it, and that is definitely true with that shade. So I'm curious to see if any of the other like foiled or shimmery eyeshadows in this palette perform similarly to that one, which I hope isn't the case, because while I don't mind using a setting spray if I absolutely have to, if I'm in a rush and I just kind of want to throw something on my eyes, I don't want to have to go looking for a setting spray. That's just an extra step that sometimes I don't want to take. You know, I just want something to be easy. I want everything here. I don't want to have to use anything else. But I did think that this shade here worked pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a handful of these, the shimmery shades. I'm not going to do all of them. I will show you a finger swatch, and then I will show you a brush swatch. And some of the brush swatches that I've seen that kind of complained about the foiled shadows here were just one little stroke. And that's not how I apply eyeshadow on my eyes. And I don't think most people do, just one little stroke. And while I totally get what they were doing in those videos showing you how unpigmented some of these shimmery shadows were, I'm going to show you how I would apply them on my eyes. I will just do it on my arm, but I'm going to kind of like pat the eyeshadow onto my hand here, or onto my arm, to try and build the shadow up as much as I can without using any kind of setting spray. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick some random shades and show you how they work. Don't mind my busted little nail right here. It broke earlier this afternoon, which is actually kind of funny because I believe in Jaclyn's video about this palette, one of her nails was broken too. So anyways, don't mind this broken nail, but let's go ahead and start with this pinky shade right here. So here's a finger swatch. And that is very blinding, very pretty. But let me go ahead and then do a patting brush swatch. All right, I'm trying to figure out the best way to like kind of do this here. All right, so let me just go like this. All right, this one actually works pretty good. It looks like just kind of patting it like that. Hopefully you can see that. I'm just kind of patting it because that's how I would apply this kind of eyeshadow. And I always use these like flat concealer brushes. I think these work really well. This is a crown brush. This is the C224 Oval Concealer. I know Morphe sells something very similar to this, and I just think these work really well for these kind of eyeshadows. But that one actually worked pretty well. And in between every color, I am going to clean off my brush with my color switch here. All right, next I am going to go into the color Sissy. I think that's what this one is called. Like I said, this is the color that I really, really loved from this palette. It's what I put on my eyes today. So here, let's do a finger swatch first. So that's what that looks like. And now let's try it with the brush. Yeah, see, this one isn't showing up hardly at all with the brush. So it's very, very faint. You really, with this one in particular, are going to either need to use your finger or at least use a setting spray. Again, I did use one on my eyes to get it to look a little bit better than that. Again, I'm not going to do swatches of every single color. I just kind of want to see how they perform with my finger versus patting them on my hand or on my arm with the brush. All right, next, let's try this gold shade here on the end. This is really pretty. I could see myself using this one a lot. So here, just picking a little bit up with my finger. And then here's a swatch. See, look how beautiful that is. That is just so metallic, so foiled. Let's hope it translates that well with a brush. All right, so now let's try this gold shade with the brush. And see, all right, well, if you kind of just keep patting at it, you can kind of build that up. Yeah, that looks pretty. I think that looks almost as vibrant as the finger swatch. Not quite, but if you did use a Fix Plus or something, I think you can get a really, really awesome look with that one. Next, let's try this one right here. And here it is patted on with the brush. I'm actually going to go above it just because I have a little bit of room there. So again, that is turning out pretty well. I think some of those swatches that I saw online were really unfair. Though that Sissy color, that pink one, really didn't turn out very good at all. But I think that one is also really, really pretty. All right, I'm just going to do a couple more here. I am going to go into this purple because it is just calling my name. It's so, so pretty. And I will say, these just feel beautiful. They're just so silky and so soft. I really, really like the feel of the shadows. Then let's pat the purple on with the brush. And this one, oh, this one is very, very patchy, as you can see, even with this awesome brush. I think this is another one that you're definitely going to need to either use your finger with or at least use some kind of setting spray, because that's really not doing it for me. Let's just do one more. I think I'm going to go into this shade down here, this kind of pretty forest olivey green. And now let's try it with the brush. See, that one is also working pretty well, I think. It's a lot lighter, but it's going on very evenly. It's not patchy at all. It's not patchy at all. I think the moral of the story with this palette is that the metallic foiled shades are just really inconsistent, which really does kind of suck. I mean, when you're purchasing a palette, especially one with a celebrity or like a YouTube celebrity's name on it, you're expecting it to be a little bit better. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad palette or that I'm upset that I bought it. I will use it. I am really, really excited to use a lot of the shades in here. I just wish that some of those metallics were a little bit better, like that Sissy shade, the one that I was really, really drawn to. I really, really wish that that kind of translated a little bit better on my eyes. And that purple shade as well. I was really excited to use that shade, and I'm sure if I use my finger or, you know, again with a setting spray or something, I'm sure it can turn out a lot better than just patting it on my eyes with a dry brush. But that's typically how I like to use eyeshadow. I'm not gonna lie, it's just so much easier just to use a dry brush, but it is what it is. I am excited to use this palette and play around with it, and I do think all of the mattes that I've used anyways are really, really beautiful. I'm really excited to play with all of the other ones, and again, I think the color selection is just gorgeous. Only thing, I just wish that there was that matte highlight shade in here, and then you would absolutely not need anything else, and you could create so many different looks with this. But you know, if you have like a little single shadow like I used, or an eyeshadow from any other palette, you know, you can absolutely use that. It's really not that big of a deal. So overall, I'd have to say that I am happy that I purchased this palette. Really, really excited to play around with it. Like I said, you know, there's just a couple of little things that I would have changed if it were me making the palette, but you know, I obviously wasn't the one to make the palette, so I really have nothing to complain about. But yeah, I hope this video was helpful for you. Let me know if you want to see more of those brush swatches, like the way that I do them. I suppose I could make an entire video of all of the different metallics in here, or all the different shimmer shades. So I could just do an entire video dedicated to that. If that's something that you guys are interested in, if you think that would be helpful in any ways, let me know in the comments below. I think that pretty much then wraps up this video. I will definitely be playing with this eyeshadow palette a lot over the next couple of weeks, and if I remember, I will try try and post my different looks over on my Instagram page, which I will of course have linked down below. But thank you guys so much for watching today and hanging out with me. I would really appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up, and you can also subscribe to my channel. We can also connect on Instagram like I said, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Thanks again for watching. Bye!